White woman tears are the exact intersection where the patriarchy and white supremacy are weaponized against Black people, but particularly against Black women.
Hey guys, how are you all doing? It's your girl Cindy, and I'm back again today with another gist. I trust you guys are doing great. Thank you so much for clicking to watch this video. So I just want us to see this video from this Ukraine woman. She talks about the source of white women tears, and then she proceeds to talk about why they don't have white men's tears. I saw this video and I found this video very interesting. I decided to bring it here so we all could see it together and talk about it. I'm gonna leave this creator's handle in the comments so you all could please give her a follow and watch her videos. She is sound, she is good. She is basically educating white people, and of course some of them are feeling so uncomfortable leaving racist comments in her comment section. I mean, it is no news to us. I mean, it is expected. Please bear with me. I am doing a voiceover today. For some reason, my lips are swollen. I don't know what happened. So if you have any remedy for it, please drop it in the comment. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let's check this video out.
White woman tears are the exact intersection where the patriarchy and white supremacy are weaponized against Black people, but particularly against Black women. This weaponization plays off of some of the largest and most well-known tenets of both of these things: white supremacy and the patriarchy. So under the patriarchy, men are not supposed to have emotions, only women are. There's a reason why we don't have white man tears, right? Even though we should, like, that's a thing too. We don't associate men with tears. We don't associate men with sadness or expression of emotion or anything like that. So that's the first tenet that it rests on, is that white women are women because they cry and they're allowed to be like emotional. They're allowed to feel and act hurt because this is what makes white men men. Not being like that, but also them being protectors, right? One way that the patriarchy promises to benefit or protect women, again, especially white women, is that when you are in distress, somebody will come along and save you. Like a man will come along and help you out. Men are very much taught to sort of lean into that as well. If you were to ask them, honestly, like a lot of cis men would say that they often picture scenarios in which they have to be the hero, in which they have to like try and rescue as many people as they can. Like they kind of go throughout their life looking for opportunities to do that. So like generally the promise to women under the patriarchy is you're going to be protected, right? When it comes down to it, it's like, yes, you are oppressed and you are taken advantage of, but that all comes with the like eventual benefit that when somebody is hurting or assaulting you, somebody will come along and protect you and stand up for you. Now, we know, like pretty much for a fact, that men don't do this with other men, especially white men with other white men. They don't actually protect women from the shitty things that other white men do to them. They typically either ignore it, they brush it under the rug, or say, no, that's my buddy, he couldn't have done that, etc., etc. There's always like this loophole of like, unless it's another white guy, unless it's another white guy, unless it's another white guy. Because for them to admit that another white man did something insinuates this idea of like all men, right? But it's all men because y'all don't say anything. It's all men because y'all stand idly by. If there was a culture of good men actually calling out bad men and like protecting women from the bad men, then we wouldn't say all men. But the fact is, the culture is when a man who looks like you does something to a woman and then she tells y'all about it, y'all say, no, he couldn't have possibly done that because he's my friend, he looks like me, we work together, I know that guy. Of course, he wouldn't do that to you, you're a man, you're not a woman. But men will like be very oblivious to that fact, and I don't think it's like accidental. I think they're very well aware of how it makes them look. Like, well, if we call out John or if we call out Adam, then we'd also have to tell people about what Jake did. Then we'd also have to tell people about that thing that Max did a few years ago. Then we'd also have to like talk about what I do to my girlfriend in bed. Like, very much a bro code. So white women are actually not as protected by white men when it comes to other white men and really men in general. A lot of times when women come to men, again, especially white women, come to white men and they say, hey, one of your buddies did such and such, they'll be like, well, what did you do? Like, he wouldn't have done that if he didn't have a reason to. But that's where white supremacy comes in, okay? You can't enslave, abuse, and extract value from people the way that this has been done to Black people in America. The only way that you can really enslave and exploit people the way that black people have been enslaved and exploited in America is by pushing forward the idea that they are not human, or that they are less human than white people, or that there are differences between white and black people that are fundamental enough and are egregious enough to justify slavery, abuse, murder, brainwashing. The list goes on and on, right? Beatings and humiliation rituals and all of those things. The only way you can justify that is to say that people with a different skin color from us are so fundamentally different from us that we deserve to put ourselves above and exploit them because they could never rise to the level of where we sit. We're the civilized ones. Mind you, they were saying this with a straight face as they did extremely barbaric shit, and they were saying that they were more civilized. More. None of this is rooted in logic or reality. All of this is very delusional thinking. I want to make that very clear. There was nothing that ever or could ever make slavery okay. There has never been anything, and there will never will be anything that will make what happened in this country okay. But because America views slavery as a thing that just happened here, like outside of anyone's control, it just happened here for like 250 years, and then all of a sudden people were like, wait, that's happening on this land. And then somebody was like, oh, this is slavery and it's actually really bad. And then everyone was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. We have to get rid of slavery. Like, that's not how it went. That's not what actually happened. What actually happened was a concerted effort by the government of America, by the people in power in America, by the people that were actively making money and profiting off of this exploitation and abuse, to say these humans were less human than the humans that happen to have white skin and less pigment in their skin. That was a concerted effort that a lot of people helped to perpetuate. People's grandmothers and grandfathers that lived here helped to perpetuate. My ancestors did plenty of fucked up and racist shit on my land too. I'm not excluding myself from the overall white people demographic when I say that, okay? Like, this applies to me. And I'm fully aware that I could choose to employ these tactics with like a near perfect success rate as, you know, any other white woman. That's why it's important to educate myself on why they're so wrong. Even if I am sad and I do want to cry about a situation, or I do feel really bad or like really guilty, that it may not be the best route to go ahead and like act a certain way, because not everybody is allowed to act that way. Which brings me to when black people became so marginalized that they were really thought to not be human, where they were treated as such. They were treated as though they were not human. They were not given human considerations. They were not given human rights. They were not given voting rights. They were not given property rights. They were not given like earning money rights, because people wanted to exploit them. And so they did so in the most unceremonious possible way, by literally being like, these humans aren't really human. Where white women tears comes back into this equation is this is how white women used to exercise the power that they lost by submitting to the patriarchy, was given back to them by white supremacy. And that's why a lot of white women will be like, well, aren't we all women? Can't we just unite on the women's issues first? No, we can't. We can't, because there's a more fundamental issues. There are human rights issues. We can't all unite as women until we really air out the root of racism by talking about it, by acknowledging it, okay? Because where white women tears come into this is that white women could finally depend on the protection of the patriarchy, or they could finally have a little bit of power within that patriarchy that was oppressing them by playing on these men's insistence that black people aren't people. And so what they got to do was employ, finally, their emotions in order to wield a little bit of power in this structure, right? And they did so at the expense of other people, the expense of black men and black boys, I should say, because a lot of times these were children that we're talking about, like Emmett Till. Mind you, that woman is still alive. Mind you, the woman that made a false accusation against Emmett Till, one of the most horrific and barbaric things that's ever happened. The person who made that possible is still alive today. She gets to vote and she's not in jail. And honestly, like, as a white woman, I love the critiques of white women, because it helps us to understand that, like, people are not a monolith. Women are not a monolith. Women are not perfect. It's actually power that corrupts, right? White women were given a little bit of power, and even though they knew how it felt to not have power, to be oppressed, all of those things, what did? They turned around and oppressed other people. And white women are one of the biggest reasons for us to not put any women at all on a pedestal, because we are all still human. We are all still very prone to the abuse of that power. We are very prone to getting our way at any cost. And it's very important to continuously call these things out and keep our attention exactly on these things, because this is how we take down these systems, is by realizing that there's no one person that you could give power to that should be sitting at the top of a structure handing down orders from above, or like deciding what's best for everybody. We need a truly like communal, non-hierarchical system if we're going to get to the bottom of any of this. And I feel like the deconstruction of like white women's behavior is very, very key in that step. And until white women get on board with this, we're just going to be at a standstill. As long as white women are, sitting at the train station talking about, I can't get on this train because I'm not a white woman like the other white women, and ain't I a woman too? Like, no, that's not a question for you to ask. That's a question that a black woman asked to you, and you need to think about that. But they'll immediately flip all those arguments back around and be like, no, I can't get on this train because I just can't get on board with all of this. And it's like, okay, well, the train's just never leaving the station then. I hope you're happy. The reason that it's so easy to like employ these white women tiers is because the patriarchy has something to prove to you as a white woman. And the only way that it wants to prove it is at somebody else's expense that's not a white man. This is how the patriarchy and white supremacy prove their usefulness to white women, who are like a very important pillar in holding it up. And this is why feminism can't go anywhere until white women let go of that pillar, let go of that, like, oh, I can garner pity and avoid accountability kind of card. Because we as women all hate it when men play that card. When they say, oh, well, if it wasn't for like my abusive childhood, or like, oh, well, my ex, cheated on me once in high school and I just haven't been able to trust women since. It's like, well, what are you going to do about it, right? And it's the same as white women. It's like, you want to be able to go out there and like share spaces with people. You have to be ready to take accountability for your actions. Especially as a white woman, if feminism to you is not about a skin color, then prove it. Then prove it. Then get behind black women, because they're women too. Don't cry white woman tears. The best way to lead also is by example, is by realizing that you do have both internalized misogyny and you also have racism. You have been taught. I'm not saying it's something that you looked at and said, oh, I like this, and like picked it up and made it part of your personality. I'm saying it's a part of your worldview regardless. It may not even be part of your personality, but if it's anywhere in your worldview that you can escape accountability at somebody else's expense, then you need to root that out. You need to really look at that and where that's coming from and where is it likely to pop up, because by the time it's happening and you're in the middle of it, it's already too late. A lot of white women don't know anything else to do other than just cry in order to get their way, because historically men, whenever they see emotion, they want to just make it go away as quickly as possible. And that's the role that white women have played in both the patriarchy and white supremacy, and how that affects women. Just one aspect of the whole problem. The problem is 3D, and no matter how much I say about it at once, like I can only cover certain aspects at once. But I still hope this was helpful, especially to the white women out there. That's what I want to see in the comments discussing this. Just hope this has provided some opportunity for self-reflection to all of us, myself included. Love y'all so much. Godspeed.
So here is a video of this white woman crying. In this video, she said that some people were, sending her scary messages, basically, because of the heart that she's putting on. Now, it is just the way she is wiping away her tears. But for some reason, we are not seeing any tears dropping. I checked the comment section of this video and people were like, including her fellow white people, were like, we can't see any tears. And some of them were doubting all the things she said in this video. Please check it out.
Today, on one of my social medias, I had my hat on my profile, and somebody said that they sent me a message, and it showed that they were 5,000 feet away from me. 5,000 feet. And they threatened my life because of the hat. The police officer could not make a report because it wasn't a direct threat.
In case you needed a more perfect illustration of what white women tears are, a woman who vocally supports fascism and oppression of vulnerable groups gets on this app and turns on the waterworks in order to play damsel in distress, in order to play victim, to secure her comfort within a white supremacist system.
So I took some screenshots of comments from her comment section so you guys can see what other people said about the video. Please pause to read if you want to. Now, in her comment, a lot of people, including some white people, were appreciating her for making the video. So if you have been following me on this channel, you could tell that we have talked about this before. We have talked about how white women's tears oppress, black people. Some time ago, I came across this article written by a white woman. She captioned it recognizing my white woman privilege and the toxicity of my tears. Now, she proceeds to say that when tears are shed by white women, they become dangerous for people of color. They become dangerous for black people. And then she also said that tears of white women are like smoke signal, a call of distress that everyone is eager to answer. She also proceeded to say that the first time she, found herself playing the victim as a white woman was when she felt uncomfortable after being called out, for being racist, they know what they're doing, guys. They know exactly what they are doing. When they start shedding tears, they know what they are doing. And I love the fact that some of them are making videos, on TikTok, calling out these, white women. I don't know, but I just felt I should bring this video here so we all could talk about it. Let me know your take in the comment, what you have to say. Please drop it in the comments, and don't forget to like this video, share, and of course come back for another video. I'm gonna see you all in my next one. You all stay blessed. Bye.